devil's food cake? What's the light, fluffy, white, airy food called? Angel's food cake. Right? When you die, you are buried in what color outfit? Black. When you are married, the bride wears what color outfit even if she doesn't qualify? Right? White. So we have this thing going on where in our evolution, the way we've grown and developed as human beings says that darkness is bad for us and that lightness is good for us. That's natural. But where does the problem come in? Not only when we act on that bias, but we don't even know that we have that bias. Because this dark skin really means you no harm. But if you're operating in your primal brain, if you're operating in this blind spot, then you have that bias and you don't even know that you have it. So here's the interesting thing about blind spots. So how many people have either driven a car or ridden in a car? Please raise your hand. All right. Where typically are the blind spots in that car? Behind you? Okay.
To the side.
On the left side, on the sides, okay. Where else?
Behind the wall.
Okay, so right behind on this side, right? And if you have a Hummer, the whole thing is a blind spot, right? Are those blind spots your fault? No, they're not your fault. But they are your what? Responsibility. Now, here's the tricky thing about a blind spot. There are two ways to find out if you have a blind spot. What's the first inconvenient way of finding out you have a blind spot? Right? You can have an accident. And in the context that we're talking about, you can say the inappropriate wrong thing. Boom, I just had an accident. And someone gives me some feedback, and then I go, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that anymore. Right? I think Sven and Oli jokes are really cute. But then my diversity trainer hat goes on, and I start saying, well, if I substitute Sven and Oli for blonde and brunette, if I substitute blonde and brunette for Jew and Catholic priest, if I substitute a black and a Polak for the Jew and the Catholic priest, if I blah blah blah, a wetback and I can't think of any other derogatory term. But those jokes start to take on different kinds of meanings if you substitute those different folks. Right. So the first thing about finding your blind spot is that you can have an accident, which oftentimes we do. We say the wrong thing, we do the wrong thing, but we make some kind of corrections to make sure that doesn't happen again. Right. The second thing that typically happens in terms of a blind spot is what's the other way that you can find a blind spot? You ask for somebody to tell you. What do you do in your car? You adjust the mirrors. You start looking for your blind spot. Right? So there are two ways to get rid of a blind spot. One is to have an accident and discover it, and another is to look for it yourself, which is actually it seems so counterintuitive that I have to look for something that I don't know exists. But I would like to tell you that's the only way that you'll find it, is by looking for something that doesn't exist. All right? So I want to pass out a sheet, and I want you to assess yourself. So the first question is, I believe that I'm effective with diversity issues in the following 4 ways. All right? So I have a handout for you, and I'll make sure that everyone gets one. Same thing. Nope, we're not there yet. Yes, you could. There's stacks. what you got.
It only dealt with racial.
Yeah.
There's a blind spot when it comes to blind people, let's say, or
Yeah, and actually the number of things that one. Yeah, you're right.
You walk into a room and first impressions, you always start with judgment.
30 seconds.
Black and white.
Faster than that. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
There's no pencil over there.
The four ways in which you are affected with diversity issues, however you define that, what are four ways in which you show some competency, some effectiveness in dealing with diversity issues? All right, we'll stop right there. So, our parents' DNA joined. Boom. Once that joining happened, we became what? Us. We became human, right? We're equally as much of our parent as we are of our father as we are of our mother, and bam, here we are. Right? So what kinds of things, when you came out of the womb, what kinds of things did you already know?
How to cry.
You knew how to cry, okay? Especially